This is WBSM On Demand.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Veterans Day. Tim and I were just having a conversation. Do you say Happy Veterans Day? It sounds weird to me. But it is a day to remember all the veterans, right? I served from 1990 to 1996, and thank God no Secretary of Defense was interested in sending any unit that I was in to the combat, right? So I have a hard time considering myself a veteran because, look, I served, I got an honorable discharge, but I never was downrange from enemy bullets or anything like that. I was available to go, and at the time I probably would have wanted to go. In retrospect, an older man now, I go, yeah, thank God I didn't go, quite frankly. But I do appreciate everybody who did go, who was available for service and did it, right? My unit never got called, and so I never went. But anyway, I was there, I was available, but no one called. So 508-9960. I hope that's not the same case today. I hope somebody calls today. Folks, Veterans Day is a great day to appreciate the men and women who served in the military, those who went to combat, even though I guess if you didn't go to combat, right? If you were available, I guess you deserve some credit, right? And the thing is, really, being a veteran means the politicians failed, right? The politicians failed. When Americans have to go to war, that means somebody didn't do their job, right? Somebody didn't do their job, because your job as a politician, if you get to that level, that you're in foreign affairs, is to avoid sending Americans overseas to kill other people. I mean, that's what you have veterans for, right? We have veterans because a politician screwed up. Probably a bunch of them, really. So just think about that for a second. And I want to point to, and there's plenty of blame to go around, but look at our governor right now, Maura Healey. Many of you voted for her. I voted for her because on paper I thought she was the most qualified person for the job. Now that she's been in the job, I realize I was wrong. That's all right. That's why we have regular elections, right? So Maura Healey is making a very bad policy decision. If you think about all the veterans that have served since 9/11, all of those people served who went overseas, right? Who served in combat. I think of Joey Camara, who's dead. He was a New Bedford police officer. He was a sergeant in the 747 military police company. He was one of my sergeants. And he actually put me in for an award, a non-combat award. And I think of Tyler Trahan, right, from Freetown. I think of Matt Rodriguez, right, from Fairhaven. And when I start to talk like this, you realize you're going to forget somebody or a couple people, and that's horrible. But those are the gentlemen that I knew personally, Tyler Trahan, and I actually didn't know Matthew Rodriguez, but I know his mother now. And I knew Tyler, I knew Joey Camara. I served with Joey. I grew up Tyler was a kid when I was a guy in Freetown. He worked on my political campaign. But the reason they died in combat was for us, right? But it was the result of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, which were the result of the importation of terrorists, Muslim terrorists, into America, and the fact that they were allowed, either through neglect or skullduggery, to overstay their visas, right? There was a failure of the immigration system. That's how 9/11 happened. It was a failure of the immigration system. So today, with all these unvetted immigrants, illegal immigrants, running around the country because of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the Democrat obstructionist of Donald Trump's attempt to strengthen the border, most central to that is our governor. She sued and still has many lawsuits pending the Trump administration over every restriction of the border. Our governor, Maura Healey, to this very moment is being an obstructionist when it comes to having a secure border. So when you celebrate Veterans Day, when we remember Tyler Trahan, Joey Camara, Matthew Rodriguez, and all the other people that we actually don't remember because I don't remember their names or you don't remember their names, which is sad. They are dead because of a bad policy decision. Going way back, in this case, to the Clinton administration and, whoever's in charge, that's who gets the blame, right? 508-996-0. I just want you to think about that for a second, that we really ought to say, Happy Bad Policy Day, right? The reason we have veterans, the reason mostly men have been willing over the years to step up to defend the country, it's really, in most cases, they're on the combat battlefield because of a bad politician's decision, right? And today, and by the way, when the American population makes a bad decision to elect somebody, and many of us have done it, right? It's a bad policy. We put a bad policymaker in place. That's why we have veterans. Heroic young men and women who step up to go to war to make up for the bad policy decisions, right? Joey Camara is an American hero, but he shouldn't have to have been. Tyler Trahan's an American hero, but he really shouldn't have had to have been, right? The reason they died in combat is because American politicians failed, and in this case, to properly outfit the immigration system so that 9/11 wouldn't have happened. And today, you have an entire political party dedicated to undermining the security of the border, the Democrats. I mean, it's really incredible. And when we come back, we'll take a call. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning.
Hey, Sketty. How are you?
Good. So I was thinking I'm going to call you the Panama Man.
All right.
Didn't you say that you've been there 4 times?
No,
6 times?
Twice.
Oh, twice. I know you talked about it one day, and I caught it, and I was like, what? He's been to Panama? That's a heck of a thing. That was more like a guerrilla thing, wasn't it?
Well, no, for me, it was just a deployment, National Guard deployment training type thing. So we went down there. It was real world. I mean, we were carrying loaded weapons in the country, But there was some trouble down there, but I don't anticipate it. I never felt like we were in any danger. Except when I went for my 3rd Long Island iced tea in the country western bar. Then I was in danger. But
well, I'll tell you, I saw a documentary on it, and I guess what I saw must have been maybe like years after or something. But yeah, it seemed scary, real iffy. But I wanted to say to you, wow, I never looked at. My husband always said war was always about land. He said, whenever there's boots on land or on a, whether you're on a ship, submarine, whatever, it always starts about land. Yes. And he said, and we've got no business ever going anywhere. And, the way I know he really was very good at teaching me a lot of stuff. But I think that's what he was always trying to tell me, the way you just said it. It's bad politics that got them there.
Yes.
And hopefully we won't have any boots on the ground with Lebanon and Tehran and all this with the Israel thing going on. But that was very poetic of you, very deep.
I appreciate that.
I always say, welcome home. My husband always said, say welcome home.
No, I like that. I like that. Welcome home.
Welcome home. He said it meant more to hear that, And he lost his buddies, and there's always the thing, like I said earlier to him, like, why? And I was like, it's not for us to ask why. It's just to remember them. And, that's the best you can do. But, so I just wanted to let you know that I know you were there. And I want to say one thing about politics. I don't want to take too much away from this day. Maura Healey says she will not allow the state troopers to get involved with deportation. But if she does that, can the president, soon to be in office, Mr. Trump, use the National Guard instead then?
So he would have to federalize the National Guard because the commander-in-chief of the National Guard is the state governor. So he could federalize them, but then that would give Maura Healey an opportunity to try to take it to court to stop him. The reality of it is we've just got to vote her out. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. We're running out of room. Also, what's going on in Rhode Island is huge. All these companies leaving. Are the employees going to follow with them? Are they going to drive, do the distance, this and that? And I was talking to my girlfriend in Connecticut, and she's got a Democratic governor. And me and her were both saying, wouldn't it be funny? They're going to split Rhode Island right in half. They want to take all the businesses out of it. They don't really want to lose them, but that would make that state perfect for all the immigrants to live in. And then they would split the state because they'd be so far in debt, so much unemployment with these big companies leaving, that I said, wow, there was one time we bailed out Rhode Island because there was a possibility of that. But changing the map and all of that would be like unheard of. But I think everybody needs to keep their eye on what's going on in Rhode Island.
No, thanks for the call, my friend. I will tell you that there was an interview with Ted Nesi, who's a friend of the program, from Channel 12. We have him on regularly. He interviewed Ruggiero, who's the Senate president down there. And one of the questions, all the people, in Rhode Island are worried about the state of their economy. They asked him, would he be interested in doing something like the millionaire's tax in Rhode Island to bring in more revenue? And this is a liberal Democrat. He said no, because he said we're the beneficiary of the millionaire's tax that's driving people from Massachusetts to look around. Some are going to New Hampshire, some are going to Rhode Island. He said, so let's see what the economic failures of Massachusetts, this is my words, not his. Let's see what the poor policy decisions in Massachusetts by the voters, how that benefits Rhode Island, and then decide what we're going to do. But he said at this moment in time, he didn't think it's a good idea to do anything like the millionaire's tax in Rhode Island because they're getting so many people from Massachusetts who are wealthy moving into the state of Rhode Island. He doesn't want to make the same policy decisions, bad policy, that they did in Massachusetts, right? So 508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the program. Again, it's Veterans Day. We will have Amy Carnevale coming up in the next hour. She's, of course, the chair of the Republican Party. Have her here for a little bit of a victory lap, right? So she'll tell us about how you can get more involved with politics and all of that stuff. So we're going to take a break. Happy Veterans Day. Again, we only have veterans because we had bad politicians. Primarily, that's what happens, right? They make a mistake and other guys go to war, and gals, right? Take a break. We'll be right back. But anyway, thank you, Jimi Hendrix. By the way, a veteran. Jimi Hendrix served in the 101st Airborne Division. If you didn't know that, he wasn't in Vietnam, but he didn't go to combat, but he was in during the Vietnam era. And Jimi Hendrix, veteran. So we're going to be taking your calls today at 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Good morning.
Good morning.
one of the difficulties that I find as a veteran that I now have, and that is transportation.
Okay.
I can't get any place that I want to go because I can't. I mean, I just can't find a way to do it. But so I'm calling this morning to see if there's anyone who might be in the Fairhaven area of 71 Center Street, who could give me a ride to the Veterans Day ceremonies at New Bedford City Hall this morning.
That's a good. He's a veteran, folks. You want to give your address again?
71 Center Street in Fairhaven.
71 Center Street in Fairhaven. Do you need special type transportation, like a handicap van, anything like that, or just can you operate in a regular car?
I had a plate when I was still driving, but
okay.
That's not necessary now.
So you don't need any special accommodations.
No, I don't need any special.
Okay, so if someone is in Fairhaven or the greater Fairhaven area, which I think is how I'm going to start referring to it as Greater Fairhaven. If you're in the Greater Fairhaven area and you are going to the veterans ceremonies today in the city of New Bedford, and you want to pick up this gentleman, I believe his name is John, and John, again, it's 71 Center Street?
Yes.
71 Center Street. He does not need special accommodations, if I'm understanding that correctly.
That's correct.
Okay. Sure, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody shows up. I would keep your eyes peeled. I think that's the best we can do. And hopefully someone will include you, sir.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you for making the call. I do appreciate that. So, folks, if you're heading to the New Bedford ceremonies today and you'd like to pick up that man, his name is John. He tells me he's a veteran, and he's at 71 Center Street in Fairhaven. Please go there and pick him up. I would appreciate that. Or you can give us a call and tell us you're going to go get him. That'd be great. But again, my idea is, my take anyway, Veterans Day is a very important day because without the fine men and women who join the military, because we don't have a draft anymore, right? We are not going to draft people, which I think is good. I don't think a draft-based military is that good of an idea, right? I think it goes against freedom of consciousness. You got to make your own decisions. I'd much rather be in a unit with guys who want to be there as opposed to guys that don't want to be there. They'd rather be back on the block. And now there they are with a rifle in their hand, right? So the reason we end up with veterans is because the American population from time to time elects people who get us into wars. Because there are very few things worth dying over, right? And in most cases, particularly in today's day and age, with our massive military advantage, you ought to be able to talk your way out of a conflict. Most people do not want to take on the American government, right? Most people do not want to take on the American government. So when you have American men and women being sent overseas, that is a result of a failure by an American politician. Probably a lot of them. And in today's day and age, a lot of guys and gals who never felt the threat of having to go to war, right? So, 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Chris, good morning. It's Bob McConnell calling.
Bob, how are you? You're a good Fairhaven man.
Yeah, I'll go get John at 71 Center Street. Me and my grandson Rowan will go pick him up.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Bob. I know everyone in the veteran community appreciates that. Bob McConnell, I really appreciate that. I knew somebody would respond to that call.
Chris, I had one announcement, too.
Sure,
up at the Atra in Fairhaven, Alden Road. My friend Irene, she turned 102 on October 22nd, and she was a second lieutenant in the Navy. So I had the Fairhaven selectmen, prepare a document, and Mike Jenny, the veterans agent, has got the Senate to prepare a document, and we're going to present both of those to her at 2 p.m. 102 years old, World War II veteran, a nurse. She grew up in North Adams, Massachusetts, went to nursing school, and immediately shipped to the West Coast in preparation to go to Japan. The war ended weeks before she was ready to leave. But what an amazing woman, 102.
Bob, I really appreciate that. I saw that in the minutes of the selectmen's meeting or on the agenda. I saw that you did that, and I really appreciate that. I really do.
I hope Irene has a wonderful day and truly gets something out of this acknowledgement, because she's just an amazing woman. And we need to honor our veterans all the time, every day. We'll go and get John and see what we can do for him today, but it's a great day, and a great day for America.
No, Bob, you're 100% right about that. It's a great day. Bob's a great American. He really is. He's on the Republican State Committee. He's I believe, the chairman of the Fairhaven Republican Town Committee, and just a very decent guy, right? Very decent guy. So I'm glad this audience, and Bob McConnell in particular, responded to John's phone call, and we'll get him over to that ceremony. So that's great. And Bob, Bob, you're a great American, man. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. That's a very kind gesture. He's really doing kind gestures all the time. You know, he's bilingual. He actually was over at the refugee camp, another failure of American politicians, in Fairhaven, talking to those people and saying, look, your people, I'll help you out to the best of my ability, because he understands, and again, they're human beings. So that makes me, I'm happy. I'm very happy for that. That's a great thing Bob McConnell's doing. Today's Veterans Day. Buy a veteran a meal, right? You're saying, what do I do for my father who served, let's say, in the Korean War? What do I do for my uncle who served in Vietnam? What do I do for my brother, my son, who served in the Persian Gulf? Take him to the Profile Tavern today. It's in East Freetown. It's right, basically, you head to Tyler Trahan's Memorial Rotary, right, out there in Freetown. That is right off the Chase Road exit. Chase Road ends up going up, depending on which way you go, coming off of the highway. You go up, it goes to Route 18 and Chase Road, County Road and Chase Road. That's the Memorial Tyler Trahan Rotary. Tyler Trahan died in the war on terrorism, serving in Naval Special Operations. Go to the Profile Tavern. Take a veteran to the Profile Tavern today. Get them some barbecue. That's good American food, right? Get them a couple of beers if they drink. Ice cold beer at the Profile Tavern. They serve it up just the way an American tavern should, living under the blanket of freedom provided by the very veterans community we are honoring today. The Profile Tavern, they've got great pizza, great barbecue, great drinks. They're open daily for lunch and dinner. Take a veteran to the Profile Tavern today or tomorrow, next week, whatever. You can't really do enough for the veterans community, because some of them, there's really nothing you can do for them anymore, because they gave all, right? Profile Tavern located right off Route 140 in East Freetown. Dan LeBlanc lives right by the Profile Tavern, a great veteran, right, who's never stopped serving this country and other veterans. As a veteran agent, really knowledgeable guy. You know Dan. Everybody knows Dan. He damn near gave it all. He gave his arm. He left it on the battlefield of communist Indonesia, right? Vietnam. 508-996-0500. Read his book, Deck House. If you are a veteran, have a veteran in the family, or in my case, if you, I didn't know that I would be facing the illnesses in my life that I faced. I guess I should have known, but whatever. The book Deck House, it's about Dan LeBlanc's recovery after going and getting shot in Vietnam by the communists and losing an arm. Ultimately, he lost it here, really. They didn't leave it over there. He left it in the hospital here. But that's the only way he was able to survive. But his book, Deck House, is a great story about a great American that all of us can benefit from reading. I know I have. Anyway, 508-99... Oh, I was just about to answer that phone. We're going to take a break, though. We'll be right back.
And this is not our fate. So let us stop talking falsely now. The hour's getting late. Hey!
Welcome back to the program. I'm Chris McCarthy, and you are the audience. 508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the air. Today is Veterans Day. If you served, great, right? I mean, if you were drafted, I got to feel that was a bummer, right? I mean, I can't imagine being sent to a combat zone that I didn't believe in the war, right? Now, I was in 1990 to 96. So I remember having a serious conversation with my dad because there was a chance that I was going to go to the Persian Gulf. Now, the unit I was in at the time did not get deployed, so I didn't go. But I remember having this conversation with my dad saying, because there was the no blood for oil, right? The commies are always good at coming up with stupid slogans, right, that are effective. Now, imagine, and this was my position. I said to my dad, I'm a young guy. Young men go to war for their country. I recognized it was a policy, I didn't want to go. I wasn't like an enthusiastic person to go, but I said, Dad, if it's my turn to go, I'll go. And I said to him, I can't imagine what American society would be like without access to oil. And at the time, due to bad policy decisions, we were dependent on Middle East oil. That is no longer the case, right? Thanks to great Americans in the oil industry, the energy industry, who bring it right out of the ground inside the borders of America. We can go back. Pat Buchanan used to say, and Pat Buchanan really is the architect of everything that Trump is doing. So Pat Buchanan, he was opposed to the Persian Gulf War because he said, what are they going to do? Drink their oil? They've got to sell it to us. The only thing they have is oil. They got to pump it out of the ground and sell it to us. Pat's position was we didn't need to go to war. But I recognized at the time that if I had to go, that was the way it was. Now, I'm glad that due to the great Americans and some good policy decisions, we really aren't dependent on Middle East oil. The world is, but we aren't. 508-996-0500. Good morning. Thanks for holding.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Yeah, just to let you know, Veterans Day services and meals are at Texas Roadhouse, Lorenzo's in Middleborough, and there's a few other restaurants out there that offer a free meal to veterans.
Oh, that's fantastic. Lorenzo's up there by the Middleborough Rotary?
Oh, yeah. They offer a good meal.
Hey, that's great. I appreciate that, my friend.
And thank you for your service. As a veteran myself, I'll probably be there this afternoon.
Hey, it's the least the country can do for you, really, when you think about it, right? You were willing to put everything on the line, and
yes, 1984 to 1992, I served.
Now, did you ever? 84 was the height of the Cold War, really. That must have been a lot of. Where were you?
I was stationed out of Brunswick, Maine. I was in the United States Navy BP. They hunted subs.
Oh,
we
yeah.
Deployed all over. I deployed to Iceland. I deployed to Rota, Spain, Portugal, Azores. We deployed everywhere. Our squadron.
So you were in a submarine?
No, it's P-3s, which was, they hunted the subs.
Oh, okay.
They followed the submarines. They dropped sonar buoys and they hunted them. So it was best part of my life.
Oh, I can imagine. That must have been great. And how there were a lot of subs off the East Coast, weren't there? They're still on now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
People don't realize that. Out there prowling right now off our coast are Chinese, Russians, maybe even Iranian submarines.
And thanks to our political government, they shut down so many of the bases. We don't have any more here. We don't have South Weymouth. We don't have Brunswick, Maine. I mean, we got nothing.
We are kind of sitting ducks.
Goes. Yeah. Yeah.
And
no
we're
more
moving.
South Weymouth, no more Brunswick, Maine, because we had the whole East Coast covered. Now, I think the closest one now is out of Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow, that's pretty far.
Yeah. And now for them to come all the way up the East, flying all the way up the East Coast, I mean, they could stay out there for we used to be able to stay out for 20 hours.
It's wild.
Up in an airplane.
Oh, that's wild. That is wild. Hey, listen, I appreciate your service, too. Thank you for the call, my friend, as always. So, folks, there are Russian submarines, Chinese submarines, all off the East Coast and the West Coast, right? The Russians fly bombers down our coast, and they touch the West Coast. We see them making excursions into our airspace in Alaska regularly, actually. So again, it's Veterans Day, but in addition to remembering the veterans, remember they're veterans because they had the courage to step up, but also because America elected bad politicians that got us into a war. That's really the only way to think about it. If you want to honor a veteran, then make sure you vote for sound policy. And I can assure you that allowing an open border and allowing illegal migrants to stay here and preventing the Massachusetts State Police from helping the Trump administration deport dangerous illegal aliens is not a good policy decision. And remember, 9/11, which ultimately resulted in the death of Matthew Rodriguez from Fairhaven, Tyler Trahan from Freetown, Joey Camara from New Bedford, and many, many other men and women who died in the war on terrorism, was a result of a bad immigration system fostered by bad politicians. And the jump off for 9/11 was Logan Airport, right here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So when Governor Healy is using national security and immigration as a political issue because she thinks that appeals to the radicals in her party, and maybe it does, which is a sad commentary on many of you. 508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the program. It's bad policy decisions, folks. And I will also tell you this here on Veterans Day. Pay very close attention to what the New Bedford City Council does when it comes to CPC money and whether they're going to give more money, your taxpayer dollars, to groups like the CPC, the CEC, the Community Economic, I'll look it up. It's Corinne Williams Group, right? It is the Capitol Theater Project. They're going to use that as a base of operations to take on the Trump administration to combat the deportation of criminal illegal aliens. That is all being funded by the New Bedford taxpayer, at least a portion of it. It's all laid out in the New Bedford Light. It's an incredible situation. But the New Bedford City Council, with the exception of Leo Choquette and Sean Oliver, have voted year after year to fund the Capitol Theater Project, which is being used, and they said it at the time, as a base for migrants to organize, to get legal services from. And many of those legal services are to fight the deportation. Okay? So they wouldn't be able to do it without the loving taxpayers of New Bedford allowing their city councilors and the mayor, his appointees, to give millions of dollars to Corinne Williams, to the Capitol Theater project, where basically they're building quarters and a base, really, for illegal aliens to wage a war, legal war anyway, at this point, against the Trump administration. It's wild, but that's what's going on. So tell your city councilors, I don't want any of my money going to benefit and subsidize the life and the legal battles of illegal aliens. I mean, it's really, folks, that's how granular we have to get. Drill down. Where is all this money coming from? Well, it's coming from New Bedford taxpayers. It's wild stuff, but that's what's happening. Call the city councilor. Listen, in the past, Ian Abreu has made the mistake. Now, I would like to hope that Ian Abreu won't make that same mistake. I would like to hope that Brian Gomes won't make that same mistake. I would hope that Joe Lopes won't make that same mistake. Tell your city councilors to vote for no more funding for the Capitol Theater. By the way, Maria Siesta, she's really the lobbyist for the Capitol Theater project in Ward 2. Think about that. Ward 2, I would say in a reaction to what's going on, voted for Donald Trump. That was a message to the city council and to Maria Giesta. Knock it off. Knock it off. They don't want their money going anymore for projects like the Capitol Theater, for which she's the main lobbyist. The main lobbyist for your money to go to the illegal aliens is Maria Giesta. The Capitol Theater project, that's the fortress they are building in Ward 2. I'll play the clip for you from the New Bedford Light. Thank God they have the audio version. Stick around, we'll be right back here on Veterans Day. Welcome back to the program. There's a great veteran, George Strait. He was in the 25th Light Infantry Division, which is the guys who carry everything on their back. They're based out of Schofield Barracks in Hawaii. I don't believe he was ever deployed, but he was available for Vietnam. I don't believe he went to Vietnam, but he was available. 25th Light Infantry Division. Those guys are they're a pretty serious bunch. So George Strait today on Veterans Day. So folks, I was telling you about the Capitol Theater project. Of course, if you're a regular listener to this program, I've been telling you about that boondoggle for years. Now, primarily, I focused on the fact that I thought it was an unworthy project, and I thought it was ridiculous how long it's been taking. But now, with the Trump administration, the New Bedford Light has uncovered what they really want to use. And we've talked to some degree about it, but under the Biden-Harris administration, there weren't going to be any deportations. So they were just straight subsidizing. But now we know from the New Bedford Light article that Corinne Williams and her group are funding, and other people too, the legal battles with your money, right? You can't have a legal battle without a place to do the work, and that's what they're going to use the Capitol Theater project for. In addition, for rooms. There are going to be apartments there. But the New Bedford Light has a really important article for you to read. All your city councils better read it too, because they've been lobbied pretty hard by Maria Giesta. We call her Siesta because she only wakes up once in a while, and that's to push for either free drinks at the bar or for taxpayer money to go to her lobby clients, right? So her constituents, what she imagines to be her constituents in the hard left wing. So that is why all your tax dollars have been going to the Capitol Theater. They want like 7 million, 14 million, something crazy like that. But what is the project being used for? So Sean Oliver understood it. Leo Choquette understood it. That's why they voted no. In their first opportunity, they voted no. Now, unfortunately, and it's not too late, Ian Abreu has voted year after year to give money to this project. Hopefully, he will not do that anymore. Joe Lopes has voted repeatedly to give money year after year to the Capitol Theater project. Hopefully, Joe Lopes will reverse his vote, his position. You can't take back your vote, but you cannot repeat the same error, right? Same thing with Brian Gomes, Naomi Carney. Linda Morad actually has voted repeatedly for the Capitol Theater project because Maria Giesta has been lobbying them for years to keep funding the Capitol Theater project. Of course, she's a radical left member of the illegal alien lobby, right? She's a lobbyist for the illegal aliens, at least on the city council. That's what she's there doing, lobbying year after year for the illegal aliens, the Capitol Theater project. Unfortunately, a lot of her colleagues believed her, and they went along for the ride and took your tax dollars to pay for it. It's really outrageous. Now, of course, you people who live, the taxpayers of Ward 2, voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Think about that. At the same time, they voted to preserve Senator Montigny and Chris Hendricks. Okay? They split the ticket up there. They voted for Donald Trump and Senator Montigny. They voted for Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Chris Hendricks. Now, next year, they're going to get an opportunity to vote out Maria Giesta, the lobbyist for the illegal aliens. She's right there representing you, getting paid by at least the taxpayers of New Bedford, right? If we think about it. Why is Giesta working so hard for the Capitol Theater project? In addition to the fact that it goes along with her radical left-wing philosophy, pro-illegal alien, right, philosophy that she has. But read the New Bedford Light. There's a story there about basically how the local activists paid by the taxpayers are going to use city resources, taxpayer-funded resources, to take on the very elected officials that you